Hello everybody. So these two starter decks will be releasing soon. The first video I posted did a preview of the Archangel Michael starter deck. The second video is going to give a preview of the Anubis starter deck. Let's see what cards come inside the Anubis starter deck. So check this out. I just noticed the way this holographic card shines and stuff like that is very similar to this blue crystal. So this is the boss spirit of the Anubis deck. It is Anubis. Now, Anubis has 3,000 BAP, that's battle aura points, and it has 2,500 BGP, that's battle guard points. And let's go over the effects that Anubis has. When this spirit is summoned, negate all opponents' effects that activates in the graveyard or targets a card in the graveyard. So that's the first effect of Anubis. The second effect is during your strategy phase, special summon one spirit from your graveyard in battle guard mode. Its BAP becomes 0. So once per turn on your strategy phase, that's like similar to the standby phase, you can special summon a monster out of your graveyard into defense mode. Well, not defense mode, battle guard mode, and it has 0 attack. So while you're not going to be able to do anything with the 0 attack wise, it does give you an extra monster you could tribute, or just to protect you, to stand in the way of your life aura points. And Anubis effect lowers the battle points of the monster it revives. So the BAP is going to be 0, but it does not lower the battle guard points. So let's say like if you revive a spirit with 2,000 BGP, it stays in defense mode with 2,000 BGP. The BPG is not 0. So one last effect Anubis has is when it's sent to the graveyard, you could draw one card. And that's an effect that both Anubis and Archangel Michael both have. I feel like in Yu-Gi-Oh, it was a lot to play a 7 or 8 star monster, but then if somebody Fisher it or if it gets Dark Hold, you're down a lot of resources, and it's not always worth summoning such a big monster. And Battle Aura, it's actually worth summoning these big monsters because they have great effects, and when they get destroyed, you get to draw a card and you gain some type of resource back. And the other thing that I wanted to notice is that the effect to draw a card, it happens whenever Anubis or Archangel Michael is sent to the graveyard. So even if this card is sent to the graveyard as a discard effect or like a discard from deck to the graveyard effect, you get to draw a card from it. Let's see what other cards is in this deck. This is the God of Resurrection, Osiris. This card effect says, when this spirit is sent to the graveyard, special summon one dark spirit with 1,500 BAP or less from your deck in battle guard mode. Fusion Stone Tablet. Fuse one Egypt spirit in your hand or field with one Egypt spirit from your hand, deck, field, or graveyard to special summon one fusion spirit that lists both spirits as compatible fusion material. So this card will let you make the fusion spirit that this deck comes with. Both decks, the Anubis deck and the Archangel Michael deck, have fusion monsters that come with it. This is another card, Moon God Thoth. When this spirit is summoned or flipped face up on the field, add one chakra level 8 spirit from your deck or graveyard to your hand. And the second effect is if this spirit is sent to the graveyard, pick one chakra level 8 spirit in your hand, change it to chakra level 6. So what this allows you to do is add a chakra level 8 card from your deck to your hand. And then when this card gets destroyed, you can select that card and turn it into chakra level 6. And then you can summon that card with just one sacrifice instead of two. Okay, now this is the holographic hex card of this deck, and it is Amen. And what Amen does is pay half your aura points when your opponent summons a spirit, activates a mystic or hex card, negate the summon or activation, and send that card to the graveyard. So that's Amen. Emerald Tablets. Draw 3 cards from the deck. Reveal the 3 cards to your opponent. Your opponent picks one of the 3 cards, and you add the card your opponent picked to your hand. You send the other 2 to the graveyard. Oh, so this is Underworld Black Flame Dragon. When this spirit is summoned or flip summoned, send 1 dark spirit from your deck to the graveyard. This card gains BAP and BGP 100x the chakra level of the spirit sent to the graveyard until the end of the turn. So pretty much if you send a chakra level 4 spirit to the graveyard, this card gets a 400 BAP boost. If you send a chakra level 8 card to the graveyard, this card gets a 800 boost. But also, what I was speaking about before, if you send Anubis to the graveyard with this effect, not only will he get a 800 BAP boost, but you get to draw a card. Okay, let's go to the next card. Desert Storm. Destroy all Mystic and Hex cards on your opponent's side of the field. Select 1 spirit on your side of the field. It gains 100 BAP for every Mystic and Hex card destroyed by this card effect. So this card will destroy all your opponent Mystic and Hex cards, and then say like if it destroyed 3 of them, you get to select one of your spirits and it would gain 300 extra BAP, which is battle aura points. This card is Pyramid of Rebirth. Special summon 1 spirit from either player's graveyard, equip it with this card. If this card is sent to the graveyard, return the equipped spirit to the graveyard. Ancient Wisdom Owl. When this spirit is summoned or flipped face up on the field, look at the card on the top of your deck. Then pick and look at 1 card in your opponent's hand. Now, that's the effect. What the rest of the effect lets you do is that if you feel like the card on the top of your deck is worse than the card that you picked by random from your opponent's hand, this card lets you switch the top card of your deck with the card you looked at in your opponent's hand. So let's say like, you got a card that's not very beneficial on the top of your deck, but your opponent has a card that's very powerful that you selected, you could swap them. This is Anubis number 2. A chakra level 6, so this requires 1 sacrifice. But when this spirit is summoned or flipped face up on the field, you could add 1 Anubis from your graveyard or deck to your hand. This is the Scales of Ma'at. So, If your opponent has more cards in their graveyard than in their hand, special summon one spirit from your opponent's graveyard. If not, special summon one spirit from your graveyard. Big Bang Explosion. Destroy all spirits on the field. You lose 500 life aura points for every spirit destroyed by this card effect. Until the end of your second draw phase after activating this card, your opponent must reveal all current cards in their hand. Any new cards added to their hand remains hidden. So for 2 turns, you get to see all the current cards in their hand that was in their hand at the time you use this card effect. And it destroys all spirits on the field, both yours and your opponent's. And then you lose 500 life aura points for every spirit destroyed by this card effect. Eye of Horus. Your opponent reveals all cards in their hand. Select one card from your opponent's hand, add it to your hand. Your opponent draws one card. Healing Goddess Isis. When this spirit is summoned or flipped face up on the field, add one hex card from your graveyard to your hand. So this card lets you get a hex card in your graveyard to your hand. This is another chakra level 8 card in this deck. This is Sky God Horus. This spirit is unaffected by your opponent mystic cards. So none of your opponent mystic cards works on this card. It's unaffected. Skimit the Tiger Goddess. When this spirit is summoned or flipped face up on the field, add one Cat Goddess Bestie from your deck to your hand. Cat Goddess Bestie. When this spirit is summoned or flipped face up on the field, add one Skimit the Tiger Goddess from your deck to your hand. Seft, God of Chaos. When your opponent activates a mystic or hex card, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard to negate the activation of your opponent mystic or hex card and destroy the card. Your opponent must send one spirit from their deck to the graveyard after. If they can't, you win the game. So this card lets you negate a mystic or hex card if you discard it or send it to the graveyard. It also forces your opponent to send a spirit from their deck to the graveyard. And if they can't, you win the game. Egyptian Stone Tablet. Add one Egypt spirit from your deck to your hand. So, as you might have noticed, pretty much all the cards in this deck are Dark Egypt spirits. So this card allows you to add any Egypt spirit from your deck to your hand. As long as it says Egypt right there for the card type, you can add it to your hand with this card. Now this is the fusion monster of the Anubis deck. This is Dark Anubis Dragon. Let me read the effects on this card. This is Anubis plus Underworld Black Flame Dragon. When this spirit is summoned, change all spirits to Battle Guard mode. At the start of each turn, this is at the start of every one of your turns, and this is at the start of every one of your opponent's turn. You must send one spirit from your deck to the graveyard. If you can't destroy this spirit gains 100 BAP and BGP X the chakra level of the spirit sent to the graveyard until the end of the turn. So this is pretty much Underworld Black Flame Dragons effect, but it also increases the BGP too. When this card is sent to your graveyard, special summon one spirit from your graveyard in battle guard mode. Its effects are negated. So when this card is destroyed, you can summon any spirit from your graveyard in defense mode, well, in battle guard mode, and its effects is negated. Now, that just means that for that turn that the spirit is summoned, it will be in battle guard mode. Next turn, when it's your turn to, like be able to shift the position from battle aura mode or battle guard mode, you could then put that spirit into battle aura mode if you want to make attacks with. So yeah, that's the last fusion card. This card is very powerful because if you discard a chakra level 8 card from your deck to the graveyard like Horus, you can increase this card by 800 and it would become 4,500 BAP for that turn. So yeah, that's the cards that come in the Anubis deck. So you have previews of both cards that are available in the Anubis deck and the Archangel Michael deck. So this game is really fun. I hope you have a great time playing it with your friends and family and the people that you meet in the tournaments. So, will you be getting the Archangel Michael deck or the Anubis deck? Y'all let me know in the comments. And peace. Oh yeah, the next video that I'm gonna make, I'm gonna get more in depth about the rules because I only touched on the rules briefly last video. The next video I make will be a full video explaining the rules. Okay, peace.